Hello everyone, may I have your attention please? So today we are hosting an author, Mr. Oswald Pereira.
Hello. Hi.
Okay, he is a senior journalist for 4 decades of experience. He has experience in the Times of India, Financial Express and Outlook. He was a group editor for 4 defense magazines. His popular books are The Newsroom Mafia, The Krishna Christ Connection, and How to Create Miracles in Our Daily Life. He has also co-authored a book with Mr. Anup Soni. The book name is The Crime Patrol.
The most thrilling stories.
Yes, the most thrilling stories. His articles have appeared in several speaking tree anthologies published by the Times of India. He runs a spiritual website with yourspositively.com. So Mr. Pereira also taught at the Times School of Journalism. In forays outside journalism, he was group vice president for an IT company. Mr. Oswald is a disciple of Paramhansa Yogananda and practices Kriya Yoga. You can contact him at pereira.oswald@gmail.com. So please welcome Mr. Oswald Pereira. So we will be discussing his latest book, Beyond Autobiography of a Yogi. Sir, can I call this book a commentary or a...
Actually, the book is a commentary on the autobiography of a yogi.
Yes.
And it goes beyond. That's why it's called Beyond Autobiography of a Yogi.
Okay.
It delves into his teachings.
Okay.
And his stay in America, which is not covered in the autobiography of a yogi.
Okay.
Actually, in the autobiography of a yogi, what happens, Paramhansa Yogananda writes more about others than himself.
Okay.
He's very egoless. Okay. So he writes about other spiritual people, his gurus, and less about him. So this book tries to bridge that gap and writes more about him and his teachings, which have not been really covered in the book. And the autobiography is quite a complex, complicated book.
Right.
There are a lot of spiritual terms and a lot of miracles. So I've tried to simplify what has appeared in the autobiography of a yogi and Beyond Autobiography of a yogi.
Right. So, as you said that the book is more about him. Yeah. So, can you please give us a brief overview of who Sri Paramhansa Yogananda was and his significance in the realm of spirituality?
Okay. Paramhansa Yogananda was born in 1893.
Okay.
January 5th, 1893, and he died on March 7th, 1952. And when he died, he took Mahasamadhi. Mahasamadhi is when a spiritual person, a highly evolved spiritual person, he was considered an avatar. A highly spiritual person exits his body voluntarily. So that's how he died. And he taught yoga first in India through Yogadas Satsanga Society of India. Okay. Then he went to the US in 1920, where he introduced yoga to the Americans.
Right.
And his basic teaching was that you have to establish direct contact with God from within yourself, rather than look outside in temples or in churches. Then you see God. And the methods he taught was through meditation, Kriya Yoga, where you experience God directly and you can even talk to God, according to Yogananda.
So, Author, I would like to ask you, what can readers anticipate from Beyond Autobiography of a Yogi? How does it differ for those who have read the autobiography of a yogi compared to those who haven't?
First, I would like to ask, how many of you have read Autobiography of a Yogi?
Good. She's the one. She has just picked the book. Okay. she has it with her.
You read the book. What is your name, please? Sorry? Sanjana.
Yeah.
What was your impression of Autobiography of a Yogi?
It's a heavy read, of course, but when you read it in bits and pieces, it's quite intellectually stimulating. And especially if any skeptic reads it, they might find it like a foolish kind of read, because it talks about the power of divine, magic and everything, which not everyone believes. I found it quite simple.
Okay. Actually, people who have read Autobiography of a Yogi said that each time they read it, it gives a different feeling. It gives you different gyan, gives you different spiritual concepts.
Okay.
It's like you're reading it every now and then. And Steve Jobs,
Right.
You know, the founder of Apple, bought Autobiography of Yogi, and he read it every year. Every
Yes,
year.
yes,
And
yes.
Steve Jobs said that Autobiography of Yogi influenced him in technology. It helped him reach self-realization,
Yes.
understand his inner self, and because he understood himself, he could give out to the world his technology and give it ungrudgingly, give it not out of selfish, just profit motive, but like to give technology to the people for benefit of mankind.
Right.
And-
I also learned some from where he ordered about 500 copies and just distributed
Yeah,
them.
at his funeral.
Yes.
At his funeral service,
his
he left
funeral service.
instructions. There was a box in which there was autobiography of a yogi. And not only Steve Jobs, the Beatles,
Details.
George Harrison used to buy cases of the book and give to friends. Ravi Shankar,
Yes.
that sitar master, he also was highly impressed by autobiography of a yogi.
Elvis Presley also.
Elvis Presley, yeah.
Right. So he was a teacher of Kriya Yoga, and you yourself practice Kriya Yoga. So can you please tell us what is Kriya Yoga and what is it about?
Actually, Kriya Yoga is a long process. Like we took about a year to get to learning Kriya Yoga.
Okay.
You learn basic meditation, advanced meditation. Then you become a disciple. There are various stages.
Okay.
Then you take Kriya. So I can't explain what Kriya is because that's Kriya Acharya's job. But I
Okay.
can tell you it's a question of breath control.
Okay.
After meditation, you would say your outgoing breath and ingoing breath. You offer it to the divine, and then after some time with practice, you control both your outgoing breath and ingoing breath. And then when you learn to control your breath, then you control your heartbeat. You control you can even become breathless for some time.
Okay.
There is a Jyoti Mudra exercise in which you don't breathe for, people start with seconds, then for a long time. Now, Paramhansa Yogananda he could stop his breathing.
Okay.
But that is for advanced. I have not written advanced.
Yes. Okay. Great. So we were talking about the miracles that. So in a modern context, how would you persuade a rational individual to be open to the concept of miracles in modern world?
See, actually, miracles is a daily occurrence.
Okay.
We ourselves, creation itself is a miracle. The way you breathe, the way you, when you get ill, sometimes you think medicine cures it, but it's a miracle that you are cured. And see, we are finite people. So
Right.
miracle is an infinite thing. So it's difficult for a finite person to understand an infinite thing. And when you're in doing meditation, when you're doing yoga, life itself, you can create miracles like the yogis, like Lahiri Mahasaya, who's the
Right.
guru of Paramhansa Yogananda's guru. He could appear in two places at the same time.
Right.
He was talking to somebody here, and he would have been somewhere else.
Bringing dead
Yeah.
to life.
He was, and like they say, Jesus Christ himself was a yogi.
Okay.
Jesus Christ actually came to India, and he was a disciple
He came to India.
Yeah.
Okay.
For 15 years, he was in India and Tibet.
Okay. That's
He learned a lot of his religious concepts from India.
Okay.
Now, I have a theory that Jesus Christ died on the cross, but I don't think he died on the cross.
Okay.
That was since he could, yogi can create two bodies at the same time.
Right.
He sent his substitute body on the cross, and that is what was crucified.
There is also the belief in Islam that it was the other body that was on the cross,
Yeah.
but he was just
Yeah, that's what
taken
I'm
to
saying.
Okay.
So people have not.
Right. So, Mr. Pereira, so it was the influence of Paramhansa Yogananda was quite big in the West, in the Europe and the US. So, what do you think? What factors were contributed to the widespread popularity of Yogananda and his work, Autobiography of a Yogi, in the West, particularly among celebrities, politicians, and entrepreneurs?
His popularity was because he made religion very simple.
Okay.
He demystified it. He said in order to be spiritual, you don't have to imagine God is sitting in some great place and judging you. And he believed that we are, for example, the simple thing Yogananda said, we are not sinners.
Okay.
Yogananda had gone for a service run by a Christian, very famous Christian preacher. And she said, we are all sinners, we are all sinners. You stand up, all sinners stand up. Yogananda was the only person who sat down. She said, why aren't you standing? You're a sinner. He's saying, I'm not a sinner. And he said, who is a saint? A saint is a sinner who never gave up. So
Okay,
nobody is a
interesting.
sinner.
Interesting.
And Yogananda said, not only that, we are all sons of God. You know, people say, Christians, the very devout Christians say there is only one Son of God, that is Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. Right.
But Yogananda believed that we are all sons of God and we can all become like Christ. And people like Sri Ramakrishna, who is the guru of Vivekananda,
Right.
they said we are all avatars. Not only we are not, and nowadays the modern man, and he said in those days, the modern man doesn't need to be told that so and so is an avatar, I am an avatar. He said we all are avatars, we all have it in us to become God-like, and we are all made in the image of God. So we are all gods.
Right.
You know, we shouldn't look at a holy person and feel be in awe of him. We should be in awe of ourselves.
Okay.
We have, all of us have it within us to become God-like.
Right. Great.
And he gave us freedom. Yogananda gave us freedom to practice religion. He gave us freedom to choose between good and bad. If you make a mistake, you're not condemned to hell.
Okay.
He didn't believe in hell.
In the concept, heaven and hell both, or yeah, only hell?
No, he said there is heaven, but there is no hell.
But there is no hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even our current Pope Francis says there is no hell.
Okay. So isn't it against Christianity?
Sorry?
Isn't it against the Christianity?
No.
Because they talk about hell and heaven
See,
also?
Christianity also has to evolve.
Okay.
And see, the one of the main purposes of Yogananda to go to the West was to explain to people the real meaning of Christianity. That Christianity is not in building big ornate churches. Christianity is not in building, in shouting and praising God. Christianity is looking within yourself and finding God.
Right.
He said, Christ also said the kingdom of God is within you. And that's the same teaching that Yogananda gave the West.
Yeah.
The kingdom of God is within you. Please don't believe in ornate churches. And he said the way to find God is not to shouting, not to what's that, group prayer is important, but the way to find God is through meditation, through silence.
Right.
So the churches should change their style of teaching, and they should stop preaching, and they should sit with congregations, the priests and the ministers, and be in silence and talk to God in silence.
Right. So, as we are speaking of Jesus Christ a lot, because he established a connection between the Christianity and the Indian spiritualism, I'd say. So, can you elaborate on the Christ connection as described by Yogananda, and how would you compare the Eastern and Western approaches to the religion?
See, Yogananda has written a book, The Second Coming of Christ. It's
Second Coming of Christ.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 2-volume book which is about 2,000 pages.
Okay.
In which he has said that the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita
Okay.
and the Bible are almost identical. They are parallelisms. You pick up various verses from the Bible and the Gita, and you'll find they are very similar. Like in reincarnation, forgiveness, compassion, bhakti. There are a lot of similarities. It's almost like they are written by the same source.
Same author.
And Jesus Christ and Krishna, they seem like twins.
Okay. Interesting.
They would said, and Yogananda in visions he saw Christ and Krishna together, holding hand in hand in a golden cloud. Okay. And he saw not one but number of visions of Christ. Christ as a child, Christ as a grown-up person. Christ appeared to him also when he was in a hotel from above, and he spoke to him. And Yogananda said, am I teaching the right things? He said, yes, you are drinking the same cup that I drink.
Okay. Interesting.
And Yogananda said that if Krishna, Christ, Allah and all the gods would come together, were to come together, they would drink from the same cup.
Okay.
They would not be, they are not different.
So this was the connection. So what was the difference in approaches? What was the West's approach to the religion compared to India's?
The approach is the same, but in the West, West has a lot of materialism. So what India can learn from the West is how to be practical and adopt materialism. To run their religious institutions. And what the West can learn from India is spirituality, how to look within and find. There has to be a balance.
Right.
They can learn from each other.
Yes. So with your this sentence that I remember Osho saying the same thing once in his video that I saw. So I'd like to ask you, How do you compare Yogananda's ideology with that of Osho, who also attracted a substantial following in the West, particularly regarding the sharing of knowledge between Eastern and Western philosophy in the 20th century?
See, I think Osho would not be happy if I compare him to Yogananda.
Okay.
And Yogananda would not be happy if I compare him to Osho.
Okay.
They are each in their own place. Like Osho was totally against religious institutions.
Religious institutions. Okay.
Whereas Yogananda was against religious institutions, but he tried to mend them, try to bring them, on the right track. But Osho was like, he didn't like religion at all.
Okay.
That's
so
the difference.
He just established a religion of himself separately.
Yeah.
Right. So there was difference in the practices of meditation also.
Yeah.
But
Osho also believed in meditation.
Right.
And Osho also believed in detachment. So did Yogananda.
Right.
The approaches were different.
Right. So as you also mentioned Swami Vivekananda in the West. So in what ways were the roles of Swami Vivekananda and Yogananda similar or different in their efforts to introduce spiritualism in the West?
Their efforts were, they were on the same path of universalism of religion. That religions are universal. The Bible appeals, is relevant to India and the world.
Okay.
The Gita is relevant to India and the world, and there's harmony between religions.
Okay.
So they preached the same thing virtually.
So Vivekananda was already there in the West before Yogananda?
Yeah, he was before him. He was his predecessor.
Okay. So sir, as we are just using some terms like Swami, Yogi, so our reader gets confused in what a Swami is, what a Yogi is. Can you just give us a brief about what are these different terms? I'm starting with Swami.
Okay.
Who can we call
a Swami? Is a person who is a renunciate, who has renounced the world.
Okay.
And a Yogi is a person who has established contact with God, but he need not be a renunciate.
Okay. Through yoga?
Through yoga.
A yogi has to practice yoga.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Can I just add
yes, sure.
I spent about 10 years with the speaking tree. I retired from there. So I just felt like answering this question.
Right.
A yogi is actually a person who practices yoga. And
right.
the ultimate aim of yoga is also to reach samadhi. So in that sense, a yogi and a Swami is on the same path.
Okay.
No, but a Swami need not be a yogi.
May not be a yogi.
Yeah, need not be a yogi.
Whereas all of us can be yogis.
By practicing yoga.
By practicing yoga, and it's not just the physical yoga or the asana or breathing. Yoga also has an eightfold path as described by Patanjali.
The Patanjali, yeah.
Okay.
First wrote about
Yoga. Right.
So there are rules to guide your life. There is ahimsa which you must follow, and like this, there is meditation. There is correct thinking. So like this, there are eightfold paths to yoga. So
Okay.
the person who does asana is not very.
Is not.
That is Hatha Yoga.
Hatha yoga.
See, actually, a yogi and a monk, you have to come. A monk need not be a yogi. A yogi need not be a monk. A householder is a yogi. Like the guru of Paramhansa Yogananda's guru was Lahiri Masaya.
Yes.
He was a married man. He was a householder.
Yes.
And he was one of the greatest yogis. He was called Yoga Avatar.
Okay.
Even Paramhansa Yogananda's guru, Yukteswar Giri, he was married initially.
Right.
Then his wife died. Then he became a renunciate. Then there is a very famous guru, Shri M.
Shri M. Right.
He's a married person. So a householder can be a yogi.
But they can't be a monk if they are married.
If you're married, you cannot be a monk.
You cannot be a monk.
But
right.
this Ananda Sangha, they have Naya Swamis who are married.
Okay.
So they have.
Okay. So let me know if I'm just taking the English translation to Hindi or whatever. So is Rishi a monk also?
No, Rishi is a learned person.
Okay.
He's a learned person who has enlightenment, and he's credited with writing some of the poems in the Vedas.
Okay.
And a Muni is a person who's achieved self-realization without reading any religious books. He's but he's silent. He doesn't preach. He doesn't talk.
Okay.
He's within himself.
Right. So we also talked about Paramhansa Yogananda was an avatar.
Yeah, an avatar is a person who has reached contact. He's merged with the divine. Now Yogananda, they say he's already liberated. He has a speech also. He says, "I came liberated." He had a very loud voice. That is, he's already liberated. He's coming back to the world only to help his fellow human beings. So he's already reached a state where he can be in bliss forever, sitting with God and chatting with God.
But they voluntarily
come back to save humankind.
Okay, so that's an avatar.
Yeah, that's an avatar.
Right.
Like Krishna. Sorry?
We'll have a question answer session after this. Okay. That was interesting. So, Mr. Oswald Pereira, who do you believe would benefit from reading your book Beyond Autobiography of a Yogi, and conversely, who might not find it as relevant?
Anybody who wants to know about Yogananda's life beyond his autobiography.
Yes. Can you please define what is beyond?
Beyond is something after Autobiography of Yogi was published.
Okay.
What more can you learn about Yogananda, about his life, about his teachings? See, a lot of books have been written on Yogananda, hundreds of books.
Okay.
But my endeavor has been to put all his teachings in one small book of 100,000 words. All his various teachings from his various books published by him, published by various authors, I put in one book under different topics. If you open the book, see the title.
I have read this. So many topics.
Various topics. It has been, and it's been put in simple terms for the layman person to understand, demystified of the jargon, the religious spiritual jargon.
Okay.
That is what you can learn about Yogananda in a simple manner, in simple language. It's for the lay reader, a person who may not know anything about spirituality. If he reads it, will find it very easy to understand.
Okay. And who might not find it as relevant?
I don't think anybody will find it irrelevant.
Okay, that's a great answer. Right, great. So, why do you chose that I need to write about this book? I need to write what is beyond autobiography of Yogi. How do you reach this point?
I started following Yogananda 8 years ago. And before I followed him, I wrote books which were very similar to his teachings. I wasn't even aware. I had not even read Autobiography of Yogi 8 years ago. And I was already, my aura or my mind or my DNA was already on that path. Right. When I came across him, after my wife retired, we said, let's do some course, meditation. And we did the meditation course. And then I found him very good, because one advantage of Yogananda is you can do yoga sitting on a chair.
Right.
You don't have to sit in Padmasana. You don't have to sit and contort your body. You can sit on a chair and meditate for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, any amount of time. So that's one advantage.
Okay.
So he takes away all the rigors of yoga.
Right. Interesting. So thank you so much, sir, for your this insightful session. So this is the book that we were discussing about, and whatever we discussed are questions taken from this book. So if you found this interesting, you can have your hands on this book and have a look. So the book is the Beyond Autobiography of a Yogi.